welcome everybody. Dr. Ron Oberstein here, and welcome to another episode of our Life by Life West. I'm joined by my partner in healing and health and life, Dr. Mary Oberstein. Welcome, Dr. Mary. And we've got a very special guest coming to us all the way from the islands in Hawaii, where all of us would always dream of going, and we'd love to go, and we will be there. And now you got a place to get checked. We got Dr. Addison Bulosan. Welcome, Dr. Addison. How are you?
Aloha, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Man, we are so excited to have this conversation with you. Let me just kind of give a little intro and then we'll jump into it. Dr. Addison is an LCCW, a Life West graduated in 2013. He spent 1 year or so in San Francisco before he packed his bags, went overseas, or took the ocean overseas, overseas, right? But went to Hawaii, back to his hometown of where he was raised in Kauai, or at least the island where he was raised in Kauai. Started a practice there. Right now in 2018, opened his second practice on Maui. So, you never really know where he's at, but he's always in Hawaii taking care of people there. He's an upper cervical practitioner. He does knee chest. He is, I'm just going to say this, you're a true servant. I mean, you've got a servant's heart. Dr. Addison comes to the college, speaks to the students. Anytime we ask, he just flies over and does that. And that's what a servant does. He's involved in bringing chiropractic to the Philippines. He's teaching knee chest to students and docs all over the country, probably all over the world. And he is an up and coming superstar. And I'm just really thankful, man. Addison, you have really set the mark high, for what it's like to get out and to put your nose to the grindstone and make things happen, which we'll hear more about today. So welcome again to the Life by Life West.
Thank you so much.
Well, we're excited. We're excited. We know that you're gonna give the audience lots of little diamonds.
Yes.
Yeah. So we want to jump right in because we chatted a little bit about community. And let's start off with, can you just give us give us an idea of how you went about building your community?
Yeah, of course. Well, Hawaii is very unique in the sense that we're all little islands, right? And if anyone hasn't visited yet, I mean, it's the most beautiful place on earth. I will say and admit, I haven't traveled everywhere yet, but I gotta say it is the most beautiful place. And a lot of it is because the community is beautiful too. And so Kauai is my hometown, born and raised there. And so coming back home and being able to serve the people there was my highest part of my vision after graduating Life West. And so when we talk about building community, it's really understanding what the needs are in the place and finding your place and how you can help them. And so moving back home, it was all about Ohana. And everyone who's watched Lilo and Stitch, like Ohana is about family, and it makes it a little bit different here in Hawaii when you practice. And I think a lot of practices around the world feel this way too. But when your patients come into your office, we call them family members. And it's not just because we're helping them on their healing journey, but because we're so connected here. Kauai is only 70,000 people on the island. And so the most important thing is how you treat people and how often you get to communicate with them. And so when building community here on Kauai and in Hawaii, it's all about the touches. It's all about staying connected, about understanding what's going on with them and providing the service that you do. And it's so unique because I'm the only one practicing upper cervical here on Kauai and now on Maui too. And so you get to find your niche and be that service. And when we talk about building community, it's all about understanding how to connect. And so, I mean, I was lucky. I went to the best school of all chiropractic schools, and I had amazing professors and amazing mentors. And I like to say this, the biggest thing that you might not get in your school is soft skills and learning how to be with people. And I got that at Life West, and I know you guys are teaching that there. Just how to build community starts there.
So Addison, let me ask you a question, Doc. There's a double-edged sword. Obviously, people can go, oh man, well, Dr. Addison, I mean, he's in Hawaii, he's from Hawaii. People know him, they know his family because his family has a great reputation. But on the same side of that, because Dr. Mary and I are sitting in Montana right now at our home in Montana that we have, one of our homes, and in a small community, if you don't have a good reputation or something happens around that, it spreads very quickly. So as much as people think it's easy on one side, it's also difficult because it's hard to stop rumors, right? So
Right.
how do you deal with that? Because listen, it's not just in the someone could be in New York City, and though it's a big city, they have a community of people, right? You know, of their
Yes.
family patients that they have, and it can happen there too. How do you deal with that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure which professor it was at Life West or where it was, but what I learned was when you come into a smaller community, no one really cares how good you are or you're a doctor or you're specialized in this. They just want to know if you care, right? And that's why I started with soft skills, and that's when you go into any smaller community, you get high touch experiences. You're there, front and service. You talk to the parent or the student, and then you end up talking to the grandma, and then you talk, and then now you're just talking to the whole family, and now everyone's inviting you over, and it all starts with how much do you actually care and how do you show that. And I think that's where people will lose that touch when you get into bigger cities because you are taking care of so much people or you just don't have the time to spend with those people. And so I think that's where it all starts. And you know that's one of the things we call it here on Kauai, the coconut wireless, where
Right. Say
it's
that again. The coconut what?
the coconut wireless. You know, like people hear about your reputation, they hear about what you care about, what you do, and like anything, right? You leave an impression about how you make someone feel, right? And so if
Yes.
you're going into the relationship on your side, caring, loving, empathetic, wanting to be present and want to help, I mean, that's all their takeaways, right? They just feel you, and I think that's one of the lessons in today and what's going on in the world is that with what happened across the world with that social distancing and not being able to be physically around people, it really allowed us as chiropractors to elevate our game on our soft skills and be
Mhm.
present with people, whether it's through Zoom so you can feel what's going on, or if you're able to be in person. And that's where I think building community is super important because it helped us throughout the pandemic as a small community. I don't think a lot of people knew, but for a very long time, Kauai was shut off to the rest of the world. You had to
Yeah.
take multiple tests and all these things. And in fact, at one point, we were probably averaging only like 10 to 20 visitors a week, like people flying into Kauai. And so we were a very tight knit community for a very long time, and it allowed us to really focus on certain values. And I think because I developed a lot of that during grad school at Life West and able to put that and infuse that into my practice, we did well and we were able to take care of people in a very deep and loving, connected way.
Mhm.
Well, so I have a question for you, like just on that same vein. Um, how did you reach out to the community? Like it sounds like it was mostly word of mouth.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we had all of our systems in place. I'm lucky because I know your professors, and the same systems that they're teaching in your business classes is exactly the same things that I'm practicing. So it's
Mhm.
not just principles and thoughts, it's actually ideas put into practice. And so yeah, we have all of these marketing systems, but when it comes down to it, it is word of mouth. It's
Wow.
coconut wireless by nature. And
Great.
coconut wireless is just, hey, I met Dr. Addison. Hey, I met Addison. He's such a loving, caring guy. He seems like he's someone that you can trust, right? And then it's not even, hey, just chiropractic. It comes to like, hey, you should just go hang out with that
Yeah.
guy. Um, and, and that word spreads, right? And how
Yeah.
how you make someone feel spreads. And that's the nature of small communities, because it's just a wildfire because everyone knows how they feel around you and they start sharing.
Yeah. So even with a small community, and 70,000 is not a small community. I mean, that's the it's not like you're sitting in a community that has like 4,000 people or 3,000 people. It's a good size, but I know it's a small island, and there's nowhere else, right? And I'm
Yeah.
sure you have people flying in from other places because of the specific work that you do. but you also have the internet, and let's face it, your generation and everyone's using the internet. They're using Instagram, they're using Facebook, they're using all the different social media platforms to get their word out, right? Which amplifies what you're doing. So literally, you could probably have people from the mainland flying over to see you, though you'd probably say it might be better to stay and go see this person in the Bay Area or San Diego or wherever they're coming from, Seattle. But how do you use the internet? Because that makes you no longer small community. That makes you exposed to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people tend to forget. This soft skill does translate into the social media realm. It translates into these Zooms and these ability for us to conversate with people. And so we heavily use social media, our website presence, Google. All of that is we do that at the top level, and mainly because that is a way to communicate. And if you're thinking about who you serve and how do you serve and how they get information and where they're looking to connect with people, that's where, I mean, if you look at the analytics, it's pretty straightforward. Majority of people who get their information 3 out of 4 times, they're getting it from their phone, and they're going to be researching someone, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, or on the internet. And so it's super important. There is no bar where you don't do that, even if you're in a small community. And for the record, it's 70,000 people on Kauai. My town only has about 5 to 6,000.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's only 26 miles across. You can drive and around the entire island in an hour.
So you're going everywhere. People are coming to you from all over.
Oh,
right?
yeah, exactly. From the North Shore all the way to the South Shore. The whole island is engaged in that sense. And so it's super important when you're online to have a very consistent message and to be able to bring these soft skills into the room. I mean, my hope is that when people connect with me online, they feel the same as when they come into the office.
Mm-hmm.
They feel the warm-heartedness, the care, the love, the aloha, the ohana. I want people to feel that through the video, and you got to show that. I mean, that's the most important thing is you got to be your authentic self online. And that's the hard part. I was telling Mary and Ron, I was gonna be a little bit nervous here. It's like, oh man, we've been so here in Hawaii. I haven't talked to anyone outside of Hawaii in such a long time. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this interview. I hope people can feel the aloha from here.
And they can, man. I can feel it. I can feel. Mary, I have one other question on that topic, but I want to let you, if you have a question, I want to let you go.
Well, I was going to say that's, you just reminded me, we were in practice before the internet.
Yeah.
And one of my measures of success was when people came in our practice, because they couldn't Google us. When they came in our practice and we said, what do you know? We would do an initial consult with them and say, what do you know about chiropractic? And they'd say nothing. And I'd say, okay, why are you here? And I said, oh, my buddy at work told me I just needed to come and see Dr. Mary and Dr. Ron. They had no idea what we did. Like, what are you going to do on me today? They had zero idea. I took that as a compliment, and it sounds the same as you. People are saying they're saying, go see Dr. Addison. They probably say nothing other than that, except maybe he's a great guy. You just need to meet this guy. So
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's one of the measurements of success.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So.
And how many chiropractors on Kauai?
On Kauai, we have about 13 to 15, depending. A couple of chiropractors will fly in and fly out from Oahu.
Right. So you're doing upper cervical. You're doing very specific work.
Yeah.
You might, I don't want to guess, but you might be adjusting 2 segments, atlas axis. I'm not sure if you go how, and it's very different than what they might have experienced from other chiropractors, right? And you need to reorientate that education around that. But the other thing that I love about upper cervical work, because Dr. Mary and I have always done specific upper cervical work in our practice, along with full spine. We started in something called Pedibond work, and that was instrument. And then, but what I love is that the message has got to be consistent.
Yes.
And you have to own the principle.
Yes. Absolutely. And that's what I love about it so much, is because I get to collaborate with other chiropractors and other practitioners, because I can focus on what I know and what I do good at. And then know, hey, I don't do that part. Go to see Dr. Kyle right down the street. And the message is super clear, right? Like, my role is to manage and take care of your upper cervical and your nervous system area, and make sure that is optimized functionally as high as possible. And then once we get you to that place and your body's maintaining that, it's super easy to say, hey, okay, now go see Dr. Kai right down the street, or go see the naturopath down the street. And it's just a full whole lifestyle. And it's amazing because when we get people to that whole process, it's just beautiful to see their health and wellness just elevate into the next level, you know?
And they understand that to make sure that their atlas and axis, make sure that that cranial cervical joint is clear, right? And they can do these other things, but nobody else can do that, correct?
Yeah,
exactly. That you are the one that, you know, oh, you got to go see Dr. Addison because this is what we need to get clear, right? And that's what you're teaching, right? And but they're also understanding that, you know, this isn't everything. It's not the only thing, but this is so important. You know, what a beautiful message.
It's probably one of the most exciting times to be a practicing upper cervical doc, because now more than ever, there's more collaboration in the health community, in the professional community, and people are learning how to take care of themselves more than ever. I feel it in Hawaii, and that's one of the visions that I hope for the entire Hawaii state, is that we all just get better at taking care of ourselves. Obviously, I hope that everyone gets checked by their chiropractor. That's every single person that lives in Hawaii. I hope that that's going to be part of the shift in the next few years, that, you know, we can say every single person in Hawaii have been checked in Hawaii. And that's the exciting times about being a chiropractor right now. There's an opportunity for that, and we're pushing the needle on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you know Dr. Jeff Shelton. He's one of our instructors at the college, and he is obviously he's in Calgary, Canada, and he's just unbelievable. And he's an upper cervical, he's a NUCA practitioner. He's gone through a lot of steps he was president of the ICA Upper Cervical Council and president of NUCA and the research and all that. It just probably held every position. But one of the things, over 50% of his practice is referral. New patients are referrals from the hospital, from, you know, neurologists, from dentists, you know, TMJ, you know, just making sure that their people are getting their cranial cervical joint cleared. And that's just so huge. I mean, that's that interprofessional relationship you're talking about, that collaboration, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's something, coming back to building community. Everyone is in your community. All those doctors are in the community, and you start building that reputation. And that's exactly what happens. Before I opened up my practice in Maui, people were flying into Kauai, and it's generally here, the island's so small, we don't have as much resources. Our hospitals aren't up to par to the other hospitals, but for some reason, people were still flying into Kauai to get this care. And that was because the specialization that we do here and the word of mouth got around. And that's the thing for, you know, people who are watching, as you're building your community, as your reputation builds up, just know that people will talk, and you just keep doing the good work, you know?
Yeah. And so I want to lead into a second question, and that's, you talked about, you know, building community, which you're doing a beautiful job where you are, and you did a beautiful job translating that to all of our listeners and our viewers. But I think you're doing stuff outside of just the chiropractic realm, right? You know, to build in your community. Can you share some of the things that you're doing with that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the thing. Once you get involved with your community, you find out the needs and the challenges that goes through for everyone in that community. And then you learn ways to step up into leadership roles, or ways for you to help in other ways, because you have this background of knowledge. The background of vitalistic chiropractic is a vitalistic philosophy about holism and trying to see how you can help a fellow person. And so for me on Kauai, you know, being in practice for almost 8 years now, wow, that's amazing. Time flies. I feel like I just graduated. So
Me too. I won't tell you 40. I won't tell you how many years, but go on.
Wow, that's awesome. And so when you're in practice, you learn and get connected with the community, and you understand the needs, and you recognize that there is levels of change that need to happen with your community. And you know, you have either the values or character or understanding or ability to communicate, or just be the right human to be in the right place. And so, you know, for me, I'm always looking to better serve my community And there's no higher level of serving as a chiropractor, especially because of the work that you can do and the impact that you make. But if you look laterally, if you look horizontally in your community, as you start serving, 4 or 5 years, 7 years into your practice, you can see other needs. And you can see that there's other parts of your community that need help in a different way, but they need your help in mindset or thought process or deductive reasoning, things that you deduce from your chiropractic philosophy that apply to your entire humanistic experience. And so I last year ran for our city council, which is our local government here on Kauai, to serve in a different way, in a different capacity, not just as a chiropractor, but a voice of reason and a voice of thought process for the community in this process. And the main reason why I jumped into that realm is because we need more people like us thinking at that level. You just think about how life works and how our society works, is that you have decision makers, you have people who are in roles or in leadership that have a certain thought process or a way of thinking. And if that way of thinking isn't reflected in the entire community, then our community leadership moves in different ways. And so that's why I got involved as a chiropractor, as a vitalistic mindset, looking at and seeing how our community need help. I realized that as we're going through this pandemic, our voices, that voice wasn't heard as much as it needs to be. And so I stepped into that role and I campaigned, and we helped build the bridges of the community and find voices for people, and realize that this is a big opportunity amidst a challenge to really help transform our community. I think that's the part where when you're in practice 4 or 5 years, you got your role and you got the community building within your practice, but then you start jumping outwards and you start fulfilling nonprofit boards, and you start volunteering for the community. You might have kids in certain boards and roles. You realize that there's a broader experience for you, and then you realize how important your background can make a positive impact. I mean, you are lucky, both of you. You have kids that have lived through your lifestyle and got ingrained that chiropractic lifestyle. I just remember, quick aside, meeting Morgan, and I was in school with Morgan. She's just the most amazing person, and we always connected on these deep levels. And she had thought in like philosophically and had these thoughts of process and I was able to connect with her in such a deep level. And I have to attribute that to the experience of her lifestyle with both of you as parents. And I always thought to myself, like, wow, I can't wait to hand that down to my kids, and provide that thought process for them.
We appreciate that. And Mary, true, we used to sit down at the table, we open up a green book, and we would just start reading to them, right? What's the 22nd principle? What's the 6th principle? Mommy, can I go to the mall? What's the 6th principle? There's no process that doesn't take time. We'll go there, but it'll take time. Yeah, I'm playing. We didn't.
No dinner for you. No dinner
no,
for you.
No dinner.
But the reality is that type of thinking, that thought process, translate more than just from chiropractic. It translates into the way we relate in every system of life. And so, and that's a beautiful part about chiropractic philosophy, is that that first 13 principles, I mean, that's just life principles, right? That's universal principles. And so when we're able to share that in our local government, in our state government, in elevations of leadership, it really allows for our whole community to be transformed in different ways. And that's where when I think about that next step, that next thing to keep doing, I mean the big part of it is that vision of everyone being able to get checked, but really part of the big vision is that we just have a different way of looking at life. And that way of looking at life is the life that I got to experience at Life West. I like to tell people I lived in utopia for 4 years, being at Life West, being surrounded by like-minded people who expanded their minds, who dive deep into what they care about, are super passionate, and spent the time dedicated to developing themselves. And being in that experience made me realize that, wow, as much as I felt like I was just developing myself, I knew that I needed to do that within my community also and help others do that too. And so that's one of the things that I love a lot about Life West is just the outreach, the ability to stay connected. I mean, I probably go back at least 4 times a year to Life West.
Well, to our audience, that's lifewest.edu. LifeWest. You've been such a great supporter of the college, but I want to dig into one thing. You dropped a bunch of bombs right here. You know, a bunch of beautiful diamonds. And Mary, you probably picked up on it, but you know, it's like, you know, you talked about getting involved with your community. It wasn't coming from a place of how do I get more patients. What I heard you say was, how do I get my message out to more people? I'm thinking to myself, you know, you sit on the hospital board, you sit on these different boards, and when you sit, and they're always looking for people to sit on boards, right? You know, not everyone wants to volunteer to be on these boards because sometimes it's a heavy thought lifting and there's all kinds of things going on, but you have a voice and you're meeting these people and they get to know who you are and they see you work and they get to know you. And the next thing you know, they're coming in because once again, they trust you. They want to know more about what you're doing. And so it's so important, but not to do it for that reason. Do it to give, do, love, and serve. You know, do it to spread your vitalistic message, whatever message you have. And Addison, I just want to compliment you on that because, you know, it's huge. It's you know, it's hard to change the minds of people in smaller communities, you know, because they're set. They're more set. They might not be as open as in larger communities that keep fluctuating and coming in. So the job you're doing, you know, it could be a little more challenging, but it's also your persistence is omnipotent. That's just what you're doing. That's what Dr. Sid Williams used to say that. I just want to give you a huge kudos for reaching out in your community and doing this stuff, you know. Dr. Mary, you have something you'd like to share?
Yes. Well, obviously, since we're talking about it, and the listeners may be also thinking this too, you ran for the position. You came super close.
Yes.
Didn't get the position. So my biggest question is, are you going to run again?
Absolutely. I am definitely running.
I was hoping.
It's coming back around 2022. And it's for the same reasons, right? You know, there's a need happening in the community. And there's a voice that we want to help empower. And so I'm super excited because we have just created a wave. Hey.
Yeah.
The wave is coming up.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the process of what's going on, and so I'm super excited, and I'm committed to making sure that we do the campaign and do the best that we can. But more importantly, the best part about stepping into these levels of leadership or engaging the community in different ways is that you get to do the work, and the work is so beautiful, you know, and that's the part where I get to close my eyes at night and think, did I get to do everything that I want to do? Did I get to live the way that I want to live? Am I going to be happy with the ways that we did today? And I get to live that way every day, you know.
I love it. I love it. We're coming up to that time period where we could go on and on, obviously, but you know, Dr. Mary, any last any last question you want to ask before we go to our final two?
Oh, I do. Well, it's not really a question, but I was going to say, when you run next year, reach out to us. We'll do whatever we can to help you. My husband is the connector. He knows so many people. So, you know, would you do that? Reach out to us and we'll do whatever we can. We'll write emails, we'll chant, we'll pray, we'll do whatever we
and everyone viewing will do the same thing. We'll all just send in mail-in ballots and get this thing taken care of. 1,200 votes. Yeah, the difference was. That's like nothing. It's incredible. But Addison, I want to ask you a final question before we go into our ending, where we're going to ask you a few different questions to have you innately respond. The final question, just take 1 minute on this answer, but it's share with us your vision. What's your vision that you see for a brighter future for humanity? 1 minute answer, but so you got to condense it. But what's your vision?
Yeah. Well, for the whole humanity, I know that there's one place that I can I can put all of my energy and effort, and I feel like I can make the biggest impact that will reverberate throughout the world, is that I'm focusing all of my time and energy for this vision of Hawaii, the entire chain of islands, to just transform the way that we look at health and healing and have that chiropractic mindset as the forefront in all levels, from how we take care of each other in the office to how we interact as a community, both in government or just in our everyday lives. And so that vision includes having multiples of office in every single island, and making sure that we just reverberate that thought process, that care, and allow us to all take care of each other. And then once we get that reverberating, I can see how that will influence and keep influencing the rest of everyone within the United States and within the entire world. So I'm just going to focus all that energy right into Hawaii and
I
keep
love
that.
it. I love
growing.
it. And listen, the viewers have to get this, that and you're going to do this. This isn't just like a pie in the sky. You're going to change your state. Now
Yes.
that's huge. You're going to change your state. We're sitting here in Montana right now, and there's less than 1 million people in this whole state. And chiropractors can have that vision of, I want to change my state. But you could be in California and have that same vision. I want to change my state. And that's the vision we have to start moving mountains and really getting our message out. I love it. Well, congratulations, and we will support you, as Dr. Mary said, any way that we can.
Yeah.
We got to wrap up. We're going to ask our final 2 questions.
Okay, I'll start with the first one. The first one is, if you could go back and give advice to yourself when you were in chiropractic school, what advice would you give yourself?
I love this question. I think, wow, okay. All right, if there's students watching, I hope I got a chance to connect with you over these last few minutes. And if you guys have any questions, obviously reach out. But if I were you, if you're watching and you're a student, if I were you, I think the advice I would give myself would be just go play all out as much as possible, as consistently as possible. Look at chiropractic school as your giant opportunity to try and do everything and not feel like you got to hold back. You know, I think when you're in chiropractic school, you get all these opportunities, and I want to encourage everyone to take those opportunities and expand it as much as possible. See what your limits are. See how much you can learn and what you can do for people. I think that was something that someone told me when I was in school, probably second or third quarter, and every time I got an opportunity in school, I just tried to play it all out as much as possible. And I feel like it led to all the success that I get to experience today.
Great answer.
And second question, same thing. But if you were to talk to Dr. Addison just starting practice, after being in practice 8 years and 2 practices now, and teaching all over the world and serving all over the world, what would you tell Dr. Addison, that new practitioner?
I can't believe how long that ago that is. But the most immediate thing was lean on your mentors. That just came, I mean,
Okay.
I feel like reflecting back, I would not be where I am without this help and support of all my mentors out there. I mean, a lot of them and it's just the little things too, from like calling them and say, hey, I'm freaking out. I don't know how to message this. And they're just like, calm down, Addison. You've put all the time and effort. You built the community. You're part of the community. Lean in, you know, and so lean on your mentors. And if you don't have mentors, connect. You know, that would probably be the biggest thing, is stay connected with all the people that have guided you to where you are. And more importantly, reach out to the people that can bring you to where you need to be.
Yeah. And I think
Great
the thing
answer.
that people, I think the thing people need to understand is that the mentors learn as much, if not more. And that in our profession of chiropractic, everybody wants to help because we're all on the same mission, right? And that mission is to expand chiropractic and get more people checked for vertebral subluxation to live a healthier, more productive life. And Addison, it's just been wonderful, man. You know, it's like we could just, you're Ohana, man. You know, we could just sit and talk forever, but we have to close this up. And I just want to thank you for your energy. I want to thank you for your vision. I want to thank you for all you do for the profession, for humanity, and especially for the college, because it's no easy feat to get on a plane and fly 5.5 hours, leaving 2 practices, you know, significant other, family, all that stuff, and to come over. So thank you. To our viewers, I want to thank you for joining in, Dr. Mary. Thank you again for being my for us being co-hosts. I so appreciate it, and I know that our viewers, you were able to capture, Dr. Addison's Instagram and follow him. Email, all that stuff that was flashing on the screen. Follow him. Reach out to him. He's there. He's an open well, especially our young practitioners, but anybody. Just talk. He's your family, right? Right?
Yes,
They're all Hana.
actually,
So your
yes.
family, please do that and keep coming back to the Life by Life West series. I mean, we drop a new show every other week. The weeks between that, we do our life leadership line. Spread them around. We want everybody to hear these messages so that we can get them out, so that more people can enrich their lives. And if they're enriching their own lives, that only means that they're going to enrich the lives of those that they touch and those in their community, because we have a big job to do. And God knows the world needs chiropractic now more than ever. And it's such a wonderful thing to be able to deliver. So thank you all for being with us. Doc, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Dr. Addison.
I love it. I love it. Until we come back at you next week, the next time, just keep loving those around you. Keep serving people from your abundance. And just remember to give, do, love, and serve. Expect nothing in return, and the world will be given to you. I promise. Okay. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Dr. Mary.
Welcome.
Always good to see you.